Let's go there with Shira and Ryan, the new Channel Q.
Joining us right now, we've got something very special for you. We've got Alaska in the studio with us, drag star, singer, actor, also a new album out called Vagina. Welcome.
That's where I got it from, guys. So every time I start the show, like, hi, it's Alaska. I do it all the time because I like to pay homage.
I'll be sending an invoice.
No, you should.
It's fine.
Honestly, you should.
It's trademarked.
No, I love it. No, Cardi B's gonna trademark it. Like I have to use it as much as I can before she does.
Oh, I thought she was doing more occur.
No, I know she
Occur?
does.
Yeah. Okay, you look like
the white person just jumped out.
I know, sorry. I just was trying to reference it. Alaska, you have a bit of a Lady Gaga vibe going on.
I know, we look like cousins. We always have. We just look really related.
And you've actually met her mom.
Well, yeah.
Are you like BFFs with the mom?
No, a little bit. We went to her show at the Apollo recently, and
because does she run the Born This Way Foundation?
Her and her mother do.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so we were like, I was sitting with like Willem and like just. Oh, and right in front of us was Cynthia. So
First name basis. I love that.
So it was crazy because in Born This Way, you know, the lyrics are like, my mama told me when I was young. And I was like, Cynthia, that's you.
That's amazing.
Was that like an outer body experience? Like that
it was
actually
very
her.
wild.
Yeah,
and we had really great seats. We were sitting right behind her parents, like really just right center, and Lady Gaga was standing just right in the center, and it's a very like intimate theater compared to what you're used to seeing her at. And so I felt like she was staring at, and I was way taller than everyone else, so I felt like she was staring at me and doing the whole show at me the whole time.
I'm obsessed. Obviously, we're talking to Alaska from RuPaul's Drag Race. She's a star, singer, comedian, everything. And of course, we're about to get into her new music and her new album, Vagina. But first, I want to just...
I'm very...
Wow. I had no clue that I could ever be turned on by demon voices, but that was the moment.
Is that the sound of a vagina to you?
That's how I prefer to say it. I just like to say it.
So let's just dive into all things Drag Race. Of course, one, that's really how people became super aware and it really blew your platform into another level.
Totally.
How has that been for you, kind of transitioning from just being kind of like your everyday queen to kind of being an international superstar at this point?
I mean, it's just I'm grateful every day, and I'm also shocked and surprised every day. And I mean, it's very it's like BC and AD. It's like before Drag Race and like after Drag Race. Like I didn't really, I just sort of was like bouncing around from different jobs, and I would get fired or just like it didn't work out. And so drag is now my job, and it's the longest job I've ever had.
Congrats.
But with that kind of newfound, obviously, fame and everything, was there any moment where the love and the passion for doing drag, and especially because there's a business side of it, did you ever lose kind of that moment where you're like, do I really want to continue to do this?
You have to, and I think it's with anything, is like you have to find what you love about it and make that like the part that you love about it, because there is a lot of like stuff that's annoying when it's running a business. There's a lot of like annoying stuff that you have to like slog through to get to run a business and do anything professionally. But I have to remind myself that like there are parts of drag that inspire me endlessly and always will and always have. And so those are the parts that I really love getting to do.
What are the most surprising things that we would not know about being a drag star?
I mean, I guess I don't know if it's surprising, but it's surprising to a lot of people that drag is for everybody. And so there are people who were assigned female at birth who do drag. There are amazing trans women who do drag. And so it's sort of like drag is for everybody, and it's not just like, oh, like men dressing up like ladies. It's not like necessarily just that. It's like way wider than that. And it really always has been, but I'm glad that like I'm glad that like more conversations are happening that are just widening the scope.
It brings out the I guess the creative community in just every aspect of it.
Yeah, completely.
We're talking to Alaska right now, drag star joining us, who looks beautiful. How long?
I know, I got in drag for the radio.
We are shooting this as video. You'll be able to see the video interview on wearechannelq.com after this. By the way, there's a reason why we do everything. Does everyone, I mean, everyone has their own process of doing their look. Have you perfected yours? Can you do it very quickly at this point? Have you,
No.
Yeah.
No, I can't. And there is something there's something alchemical that happens in the process.
Okay.
So for me, I can rush it, but it's very unpleasant and for everyone involved if I have to rush it. So I have to give myself enough time to let the process happen, because it's not just hair and makeup and clothes. When you put all these ingredients together, something magical happens and then it's like, that is drag.
It's like baking. You don't want to rush it.
It's completely like I am a souffle.
Yes.
And so please, I will fall if it doesn't work out. Right.
Do you feel like the show showed you in the best, it showed who Alaska truly was?
Yeah.
Is there any misconceptions that people think they know about it, like Alaska, or it's just like, no, that's actually not really true?
I guess the misconception from season 5 is that I was really portrayed as like a very like easygoing, like really nice, like a very chill person. When actually, I mean, that is part of my personality, but really All Stars 2 showed like the other side of me, which is like I can be a demon from the underworld sometimes.
I can hear that in how you say the word vagina.
Right, yeah. So like that is completely 100% part of my personality. I live with that demon every single day, and I try to cut its tail off whenever I can.
And we're about to actually take a quick little break. We have so much more to get into with obviously your music, and then also I want to even talk about your brother, who is this like super hot straight guy, but you have the most beautiful.
What's his Instagram?
You have the most beautiful the relationship, and he's like he had his own. Sorry. He had his own journey of kind of acceptance, and I want to get into that. So don't y'all go anywhere. We have more Alaska coming right up.
We are back with Drag Race star Alaska in the studio right now. Also, singer, actor.
Oh, yeah.
Has the gift of gab right here.
I mean, all the multi-hyphenates.
Yes, exactly.
So, before obviously we went to break, I teased your very, very hot straight brother. And yeah. And so one thing that I love about your guys' relationship is one, how his journey was to obviously accepting you and how amazing and a part of your life he is. And y'all do like panels at RuPaul's Drag Con. How was that kind of journey? Can we like break that down a little bit where you guys gotten to like where you are today?
Well, it's this bizarro world now where he and I have like a web show where we sit in chairs and just chat about drag, and I'm in full drag, and we just talk about. He's a big, muscly,
burly man.
Nice.
It's very wacko because when we were children, we couldn't be more different. I mean, we still can't be more different, but we didn't see eye to eye. We were constantly fighting. Like I pushed him down the stairs once.
Was that just to like off him? Like you were like, I'm sick of having a brother?
It was just like enough was enough.
Yeah.
But we were always at each other's throats, like as young kids. And so there was a time of like separation, and we were apart, and it was sort of like my whole family was like, oh no, what is Justin doing out there with all this drag stuff?
Yeah.
And then Corey had a come to Jesus moment, and now we're friends.
And that's amazing because it's such a good example of an ally and what's possible for a straight white guy.
Yeah. It is sort of like a fantasy, like watching Brolaska is sort of like people who've ever had like falling outs with their family. It's sort of like a fantasy of like, oh my gosh, like this is what a possible future could look like of us just sort of like existing and accepting one another for who we are and still fighting.
Right.
And,
still being a family,
still reading.
Yeah.
But
the library's open.
Do you get messages from people saying like that really inspires them? Because I'm sure a lot of people do go through separations with their family as they're going through their own journey and process.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mostly get messages that are like, is your brother single?
Yes.
Which is what I asked.
Can you give him my number?
all questions we asked during the break.
Completely. I think he is single right now, but it's hard to keep
Putting it out
track
there.
with so many young women coming and going. It's hard to keep track.
Well, let's get into, speaking of single, let's get into Vagina.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this song that we're going to play, which is called Walk Into the Club.
Oh, work.
Tell us a little bit about it.
You had to pick one with no swear words.
Oh,
it's
honey,
hard
yes,
to
we did.
choose the one without the little red E.
We were talking about invoices earlier. We would have sent you one.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. This song, I stole the idea from Bob the Drag Queen. And he was like jokingly in the dressing room one time was like, you know, all these drag songs, all these club songs are like, when I walk into the club, then you know, and
That's true.
every single song has that. So he was like, what if there was just a song that was just like all about just like walking into the club and you say walk into the club over and over again. And I was like, bingo, I'm on it. And so I went into the studio and it's this, I think it's a very profound song,
Okay.
but it's also completely stupid.
Okay, let's listen.
It's been a while, but I've got feelings too. And I know I may be young, and I shouldn't have kept you waiting. But it doesn't matter if you love her, or capital ATF, cause you were born like this gorge. I walk into the club, when I walk into the club. And when I walk into the club, I walk into the club. Before I walk into the club, I walk into the club. And when I walk into the club, I walk into the club. This club is amazing. Let's walk.
That is Alaska. Walk into the club right here on Channel Q. Let me tell you, it's catchy and easy to remember.
It's
so Thank
poetry.
you.
First of all,
It's poetry.
It's not catchy. It is profound. I would have thought,
you.
honestly, is this an Oscars Best Original Song?
Maya Angelou is a featured writer on it. She actually contributed.
I felt that. I felt her vibes in that song.
Yeah.
I love your music because it's good. Like I would totally want to dance and bop to that, but then it's super funny. As you know, you're funny.
Yeah, it walks the line of completely stupid, and also like the producers who made the song are really great at making music that's really fun to like bang in a club.
Do you feel like drag queens are drag performers that have kind of entered into the music space? Because music has always been something that queens have always done regardless. But do you feel like it has made, drag performers doing music mainstream? Is it as mainstream as what you would see as kind of like a RuPaul's Drag Race? Or is there still kind of a journey to go with that, with people taking it seriously?
Well, I don't know, because it's sort of like we want to be taken seriously and we want to get into spaces where it's sort of like there's like a door that like we're not allowed in because it's like, oh, that's drag music. Oh, she's a drag music artist. She's not like a music artist.
Yeah.
And so I want to break down those doors, but I also I don't want drag to be taken too seriously because then it's kind of like choking the butterfly a little bit. So it's like I want it to still be irreverent and stupid and making fun of culture and commenting on culture.
Yeah.
But I still want to get in the doors.
Well, do you feel like that is what drag is about, or is that your take on drag?
I guess it's always been my take. I mean, I was really inspired by the Queens of San Francisco, and that was like what made me start doing drag. And what they sort of did back like years ago, and they still do, they sort of take mainstream culture and put it in a crazy queer blender and then spit it out onto the audience. And so that inspired me, and it continues to inspire me. And so like I think that's what a lot of artists do.
Yeah.
But drag is many things.
I mean, I'm really excited to see a lot of drag queens enter into the music space, especially into spaces where they're kicking down doors, because I think that's so needed. But another space that they're entering in is the comedy space, which obviously they've always been there.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the new comedy special that was announced today.
Oh my gosh! Right? That's exciting.
Tell us more.
Well, I wish I had more to tell you about my comedy stuff. Everyone is like, everyone has their comedy special title, and mine is like, the note is like, the yet untitled Alaska comedy special. I don't know. I was just talking with Ken about this outside.
You're a PR person.
I'm like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't.
Shout out to Ken. He's great.
I don't. yeah, like I don't really know what I want it to be because like I sort of like being like B. Arthur and like she's funniest when she's not trying to be funny. She's being deathly serious.
Yeah.
And then it's just absurd, so people laugh.
Yeah.
Like that's when she realized what comedy was. She was like playing a really serious part, and she was like, "I'm finally a serious actor." And she went down to the front of the stage, and she was like, "I remember when I was young and my heart was pure," and the audience cracked up and lost it. And she was like, "Oh, now I get it." So it's sort of like, so I don't know. I kind of want to call it like, "This isn't funny," or like, don't laugh at
like
this,"
to play
or
with.
"This is very
I like
serious,"
that too.
or something like
Or
that.
just like currently untitled special.
I love that too. It has a ring to it.
Alaska is here with us right now. So the album is called Vagina. Tell us about what the album encapsulates. We obviously listened to one of the songs right here on Cherokee
Yes.
Walk into the Club, but tell us more about the album.
Well, it's very, it was inspired as like a woman worshipping album because the song Vagina, and I have to put the caveat on that not all women have vaginas and not all men have penises.
You
and,
better say that,
yes. And that is, that's the word. But I just kind of like the word. And my first album was called Anus. And so moving up through the chakra system, you start at the root chakra, which is the anus, and then you move up, which is like the groin. And like, I don't know, I think penises get like too much attention.
For sure.
So
For
I
sure.
definitely wanted to call it vagina. So, yeah. When I do drag, it's like the worship of divine feminine energy.
I feel like the spirituality just coming through you.
I mean, honestly, someone like the sage.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
it truly is.
Let's switch gears because last question.
Okay.
So the current reigning queen of Drag Race, Yvie, she took to Twitter, and she was talking about kind of like not taking photos with fans afterwards, and she kind of related to how you wouldn't necessarily. It was like a chef thing. It was like a whole thing. It was like a whole thing. Either way, she was saying that she does not like to take photos with fans afterwards because she's not getting paid for it. Why would she do it? Kind of thing. What are your thoughts when it comes to the interactions with the fandom and queens, and even your own personal experience?
Well, I know that Yvie oddly was attempting to set boundaries for herself, which I completely respect. She also has like a chronic illness that like gives her debilitating body pain, which is like not. I don't think people are weighing that into like the whole equation, but
her bones are very like they will crack.
Yeah. And so she's wanting to set boundaries for herself and with her fans, and like I completely respect that, and I support her. And sometimes, sometimes you have the energy and you have the time and you have the circumstances that allow you to go out after the show and do pictures with kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't happen, sometimes it does. The issue here is that she put it on Twitter. If she would have just waved to the kids and said, "Bye, guys," and got in the van and went to the airport, those 12 kids, or however many it was, they wouldn't have been heartbroken. They would have been like, "Oh, I got waved to by my favorite drag queen."
I guess, what do you say to people that are like, well, the fans are the reason why you guys are really succeeding because they support, they buy the tickets, they buy the merchandise.
That is true.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you balance that?
Well, and that's why whenever I'm in a space and I'm, and someone comes up and asks me for a picture, it takes 2 seconds out of my day and it means something very special to them. And it is absolutely, it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Yeah. So I'm always one to be nice and say yes and to do that. And I think that we do that whenever we can.
Right,
Why wouldn't
I?
I?
Yeah.
But I don't want to write about it on Twitter. I think that's
Why
the
let them
only
know?
thing I take umbrage with. And as an elder queen, I would tell her as advice, like, just don't put it on Twitter. Because then you open it to the entire world to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, Alaska, you have been quite the pleasure here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Listen to the album Vagina, out right now on all platforms, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Where can people find more about you?
You can go to AlaskaThunderbeep.com
Just Google
Look
it.
at me not swearing. I'm so
Or
professional.
Instagram. Instagram too.
Oh yeah, at the Only Alaska 5000 on Instagram.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing your Untitled comedy special too, Paris.
Love it. I'm never giving it a title.
No, please
Just
come back
not.
if you don't give it a title, or come back when you do give it a title.
Okay.
Alaska, everyone. There you
The
go.
audience is here.
Oh my
And
gosh.
stay tuned for the video interview of this interview. The video will be up at wearechannelq.com and on our Instagram and social media at
Because
wearechannelq.
there's a lot of facials, expressions.
Yeah, you're
and
missing
just
it.
The look.
Yeah, you definitely want to see
Yeah.
it.
She's full on naked right now.
Like Howard Stern.
Bring it.